A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Select Talk. Now, like I said before, Select Talk is the place where you get to know people better than you do on the social platforms. Because what else is there on the social platforms? They'll tell you who they are, what they do professionally, but here we get to know them away from the cameras, away from the limelights, away from people who ask them questions about what they do on the desk, who they are on the desk. We're talking about their childhood. We're talking about what they did while growing up. We're talking about the fondest of memories that they have while growing up and the terrible memories as well. We share tea, we share coffee, and then we get to know them. Hello and welcome to the show. I was thinking that I would introduce you, and then I'm thinking, but why? She's here, and she can do that for herself. So please, take it over. Tell us who you are so that our audience gets to know who you are. And when you're describing who you are, do it for me in this way. First, what does the public eye know about you? And then second, who you are personally from your perspective.
Wow. Very interesting.
Yeah.
My name is Susan Nsibirwa, and the public would know me for uh, my role as a marketing person, as a marketing professional with several years of experience, because I've worked with brands like MTN, DFCU Bank, and more recently where a role that got me in the limelight for like forever, which was 8 years at Vision Group.
Okay.
It doesn't get any bigger than that in terms of media,
Yeah.
spotlight on you all the time. I did that role for 8 years as head of marketing and communication. I left that in 2019. So that's what the public would know me as.
Okay.
There is a section of the public that will also know me as a public speaker, because I do a lot of public speaking. I do a bit of MC roles here and there.
I saw the red sofa where you were talking about
Yes,
marriage.
exactly.
And yes.
So I do a lot of, I'm in the public a lot because of the different roles that I've played for different brands.
Yes.
So I'm in the public a lot. So that's what they would know about me. There is the bit that they would know about me as well as being a teacher of God's word, because I also do a lot of teaching. I do a lot of, so let's just say I'm behind the microphone a lot.
Okay.
I'm behind the microphone a lot. And so that's what the public would know about me. What the bits and pieces that they may not know about me would be the bits, but again, which are public, because my life has been a lot in the public arena, would be the bits where I'm into sports a lot. I love sports. I love swimming. I love, in the recent years, I started playing golf.
Is that how you managed to look this good and petite and healthy? Because I was about to ask you the secret behind your look.
That has a lot, it's a lot of discipline. I'm very disciplined when it comes to my health and what I eat and what I don't eat and my routine. I'm very disciplined, but that's really comes from a personal journey, first of all, of growing up doing sports.
Okay.
Once you've grown up doing it, unless otherwise, you maintain some form of exercise at some point in time. But then also personal health challenges, which then left me with no choice but to be very deliberate about what I eat and what I don't eat.
Like what kind of personal health challenges?
In 2001, I developed complications that had me in hospital and emergency operation, because my intestines had stopped working.
Okay.
And so from then, that presented me with the challenge of how do I maintain my health? How do I stay on top of what happens with my health? And so as a result of that, I definitely watch what I eat,
Okay.
because it affects my digestion.
I
and
can only
affects,
imagine.
yes, Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's start from your childhood because you have let us into your life a little bit, your professional life and what you do. And of course, everybody knows you for Vision Group. I
Yeah.
know you for Vision Group, and that's what
Yeah.
a lot of people know you for. Now,
Yeah.
let's go into your childhood
Yeah.
before we come back to Vision Group and what you're doing now, because we know you're no longer with Vision Group.
Yeah.
Now, that story will definitely come back a little bit later. But let's start with your childhood.
Yeah.
We know that you went into exile in Nairobi
Mhm.
when you were young.
Yeah.
Take us through that story and how it came to be and how you felt like being in a foreign country with foreign people and having to learn a language that you did not know at the time.
Well, it's really quite a long time ago. So now I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
But what I do know is that uh, it didn't quite feel foreign because as a family we moved into exile.
Okay.
So it didn't quite feel foreign, and I had my dad's family was there as well. My uncle, my cousins, lots of cousins, lots of extended family. So it didn't quite feel foreign.
Okay.
It just felt that home had moved to another space.
Okay.
And so my childhood memories, there are some that are quite distinct. And because I was very playful, very cheeky as a child. So many of my childhood memories are around the accidents that I got as a child.
Okay.
And the scars that I got as a child, either from swinging from a gate, which is why I've got, like the scar on my nose because I was swinging
Quite
from a gate.
visible.
And very visible.
Yeah.
And so all those accidents that I got before I was 7 years old.
Did that cheekiness grow with you to your adult life, or it
I
reached a
think-
stage and you said, okay, I'm going to come down and be a different person?
Well, I think some things are just part of who you are in terms of I'm very outgoing, very adventurous, very open to challenges. And so I will do those things like in school. I remember I played every single sport that there was to play. If
Okay.
it was rugby, if it was football, it was cricket,
That's
apart
very
from the swimming, if
impressive.
it was rounders, if it was netball, basketball. Right at university, I tried squash, tennis, just trying everything.
Okay.
Because, what's life for if you're not going to try these things?
Say
So-
that's the
so-
best way to say it. I mean,
Yes.
what's life for if you're not going to
If you're
try,
not gonna
things
these things,
out?
if you're not going to try
Yeah.
these things out. So I think the cheeky would be more of me being bubbly. I'm the energetic person. I'm the one who at 6 o'clock in the morning, if you want to find energy, you'll find it with me because that's me. In terms of bubbly personality, outgoing, never afraid. Like I met you today for the first time, but we're chatting.
We look like
we're old
we've
friends.
met old friends. We've met like
Exactly.
4 years behind.
Yes.
I want to mention a name
Yeah.
and then tell me how that name has affected your life, how it has made you the person that you are.
Yeah.
Who is Martin Luther Nsibirwa, and how has that name directed your life?
Oh, okay. That's my grandfather, and he was assassinated when my dad was 5. So my dad didn't really know him either, because he grew up then with my grandmother. So what that meant, growing up as a teenager, it didn't quite hit home, but later in my late teens, seeing what my aunties were doing and just now coming to terms with the family legacy, then it began to weigh heavily on my shoulders. And it meant that I was expected to behave in a particular way.
Okay.
It meant that every time I opened my mouth and every time I was introduced as Susan Nsibirwa, it came with, are you this? And who is this? And I know this.
Okay.
Either because from my cousins or my aunties, or there was always a tag to the name.
Okay.
And that carried a huge responsibility. At a certain point, I kind of I don't want this, it's too much. I just want to be my own person. But then later, I just realized that I can't run away from that legacy. I have a part to play in that legacy.
Okay.
I have a responsibility to fulfill the name and to live up to the weight of the name, because I can never run away from it. So I began to enjoy what it meant to be Nsibirwa with all the responsibilities. I would say in my early 30s, that's when I started to realize, okay, this is a good thing. It's not a negative thing. This is
Okay.
a good thing, and I'm going to work it, and I'm going to build on it, and I'm going to do my part with it.
And you believe you have done justice to that legacy?
Oh man, I am just getting started because I'm walking in the shoes or the footsteps of huge achievements by my predecessors.
Okay.
My dad's sisters. I'll look at the maternal side. My dad's sisters, who up to now, I've got one of my dad's sisters. She's still a regular, frequent person interviewed for newspapers. She was she was an MP. She was in the Constitution Assembly. She always has something to contribute to current affairs.
And who's that?
She's called Rhoda Kalema.
Okay.
And at 91, she still has something to say about the current affairs of the country. So I still have miles to go. I've got miles to go. There's so much that is ahead of me, like 50 years to catch up on what I can do. So I'm just doing my bit. Now, it's not to say that I can emulate what they've done, because we're all different people with different callings, different gifts. But with the gifts that I have, it's to just make sure that my mantra actually is to make a positive difference every day. That's my mantra, to make a positive difference every day. And I like to call myself a great African. And because I call myself a great African, I feel I can influence, even with my gifts and my talents, I feel I can be a great influence and build on the legacy of my grandfather.
So when I see you speak, when I hear you speak, when I look at you, the first word that pops in my head is women empowerment, an empowered woman. Now, do you think that we women have overplayed the women empowerment word and rule, or have we underplayed it?
I think it's definitely something that had to happen because of centuries of being suppressed and not getting enough, I would say, not getting room at the table. Now, my grandfather believed in the education of women and men alike, which is why my father's sisters were able to go so far. So for us, it was never a question of education, will you not? The stage had already been set by my grandfather. So and so I'm going to say, after years of, even now, it always amazes me when I read stories and still see that the oppression still continues in many cultures, in many segments of society. And even now, I was attending a webinar the other day, and I actually realized that even in America now, the number of women in the boardroom represented is even less than, the percentage is even less than in Africa. So it is still a challenge. It is still a challenge. Women still have a major role to play to get their voice heard, to get their opinions taken seriously, to take that room at the table. And I'll say, when I say at the table, it's really at the decision table. Because so the women empowerment thing, yes, some of us were beneficiaries of the 1.5 university, the 1.5 points, even though some of us didn't actually need it, but they still added it to us. So we're still beneficiaries of that. And really, what we've seen, obviously, is more women in the marketplace, more women in the middle management role, but still not enough women serving at the board level. So the experience is there, but not enough women in the C-suite. That is, like chief decision makers in the company. So women empowerment, even with all the efforts of the past 20, 30 years, there's still miles to go.
Well, see, women empowerment is a very powerful move to discuss as a woman. But if we're talking about a family, a person, a mother, a wife, we know that the move, women empowerment, has intimidated a number of men, and they feel like it's a place where women want to be equal to men. What would you say about that? And what would you say about the fact that a number of men are still intimidated about a woman who earns more than them or who sits at the head of that dinner table that we're talking about?
You know, my answer to these equality questions is always the fact that when God created man and woman, he created us with different roles. He created us with, based on our physiological and physical makeup as well. So we each have roles to play. And I like to think that those roles are complementary roles, that one doesn't take the place of another.
Okay.
I'm a single mother. But as a single mother, I know that my daughter needs a father, needs
A
that
father figure.
a father figure, needs the role that a man plays that a woman can never play in a child's life. I play the mother role, but there's a reason why God created man and woman. So there's the mother and the father role. I cannot ever pretend that I can play the role of a father. So the thing about, so my argument is always for the complementary status of man and woman, not the competitive status, but how we complement each other to make the world a better place, to make our families better, to make our workplaces better. How? Because we each have unique giftings. And so for me, it's always about the complementary role.
Okay.
If you feel intimidated by a woman and what she's earning and by her role and her elevated status in society, then it says more about you than it does about the woman. It shows that you still have got self-esteem issues to deal with. You've got your own internal vulnerabilities that you must deal with, because why are you intimidated by the success of somebody else, you know? So that would be my comment to that, that anytime I feel I'm intimidated by someone's success, I have to look on my inside to see what do I need to deal with on the inside of me, because really the way life is, I should be celebrating you. I should be celebrating your success. I should be celebrating that you've been elevated to a better position of responsibility. And it means better opportunities for us as a family. It means more income. It means we can do better things, as opposed to being intimidated by that. So again, it points to your own personal weaknesses as a man.
So when we're discussing women empowerment, we're discussing two different units with two different strengths coming together to form one strong unit.
Absolutely. So it should never be, the minute it's about fighting and competition, then you have to go back to the drawing board, because it has to be about collaboration. It has to be about how our strengths, how we can collaborate to make either our family better, the workplace better, as opposed to competing. Obviously, we're far from that place where, we still have the issues of gender pay, for example, where women in same positions earn less than men.
Exactly.
And that's a global. It's a global.
You're bringing me to the exact point where I wanted this conversation to head to. You are among the women in Uganda, the creme de la creme, that have been in the corporate world and have gone through the challenges of being a woman in a corporate world where men are the majority in this world. We've had stories of harassment while at work. We've had stories of, like you said, the gap between the man and the woman when it comes to payment. How do women deal with these challenges? And what are some of the challenges that you went through? You've worked with a number of companies, the French embassy being one of them. So what are the challenges that you went through? How did you mitigate through these challenges? And what advice would you give to the women out there about these kinds of challenges and how to go about them?
I think a lot of it has to do with mindset. And I always used to say that I did not know that there were gender problem issues growing up. I had no idea. Even when I joined the workplace, I had no idea, because I grew up in a place where part of my upbringing, the schools I went to, it was always like, I didn't know the difference between the genders.
What are some of those schools that you went to?
Well, I mean, my formative years, because we're in Kenya in exile, my formative years were in private school in Kenya. And, just the question they said, learning a new language. I never learned Swahili because my parents put us in a private boarding school, a British boarding school. So the Swahili that we learned was really the Swahili of dealing with the school staff, in the dining room, how to ask for a cup, how to ask for more food or more milk. So it was really just functional Swahili, but Swahili wasn't taught as a language. So my parents are very fluent in Swahili, but I'm not.
You're not. And I can imagine after not being fluent in Kiswahili in Kenya, you come back to Uganda and you're not fluent in Uganda.
No. Then I decided because growing up, my father would not allow us to speak Luganda at home.
Okay.
So we grew up, the first language was English. So then going into Kenya, then, English continued, but then I took on French as a language. So I became fluent in French growing up because I did French right up to university level.
Okay.
But then coming back to Uganda, I decided to teach myself Luganda.
Okay, impressive.
And so I taught myself the language, and I just became better and better at it just by simply teaching myself the language. I still, I'm not, after obviously 8 years at Vision Group, I don't struggle with the language much anymore.
Muganda too.
No.
I'm going deeper than what you've learned in Uganda.
That will take me way beyond what I can do.
Okay.
But I love my culture. I love the language. I'm always because my grandfather was Katikiro of Buganda.
Yes.
And so the question then is, okay, so but it's just a matter of where we went at different stages in our lives.
Okay.
But I do love my culture. I love the fact that I'm a Muganda woman, and Nedira, I'm of the Mvuma clan. Just let me know, I'm of the Mvuma clan, and so and so there is that. Yes, I had to teach myself Luganda.
Yes.
So I read Luganda. That was because I had to get the Bukede newspaper, and so that's how I taught myself how to read.
Given your position
Luganda as well.
at Vision. So, but why I asked which school you went to were they mixed schools or were they single schools?
Mixed schools. Then when we came back here, I went to Nabisunsa for 2 years, Gayaza for 2 years. So those were single sex schools, and then but formative years.
And how did that shape your perception of women empowerment and being able to believe in yourself as a woman, so that the challenges that you have at work that affect women did not really affect you?
That's the thing. Growing up, I never really thought about it. I never really thought about it because I didn't grow up in an atmosphere where girls did not have the same
rights as guys.
The same opportunities as the boys.
Okay.
We were all on an equal footing. So I never quite, it never ever quite dawned on me until, when you hear people's stories. Because for me, it was always like, this is what you want to do? This is where you want to go? Get up, go, do it. You understand?
Yeah.
It never really dawned on me that the real challenges with gender, because that's not what we grew up with.
Okay.
Where we grew up with, a woman could be anything she wanted to be. My aunties could do anything they wanted to do, start whatever businesses they wanted to start, because my grandfather made sure that that was the environment in the family.
It definitely shaped you.
It definitely shaped me. So it's not until now when you're much older and then you're seeing the experiences of others, and then you're realizing, girls don't go to school, but boys go to school.
Exactly.
Wow, you're thinking, because it was
This is
totally
new.
alien. Yeah,
Definitely.
it was totally alien to me. And then obviously then you begin to understand things like sexual harassment. And then you're like, okay, this is not right, but you're not quite sure what's not right about it.
And it did not happen to you at any of your workplaces from the French embassy while you were in university, because according to your story, you started working when you were in university, coming down to Sachi and Sachi, coming down to the New Vision. It didn't happen to you?
No, because, and I don't even know how to quite explain it. Yes, you do come across situations where you feel somebody makes a comment that is inappropriate, or something that has maybe some sexual connotation to it. You come across that, but again, really depending on, because I've never come across a place where I must sleep with somebody to get a job.
Exactly.
No, because I always believed, my mindset was always, I'm here by merit. I've earned my way here.
Okay.
I've worked my way here. And if I apply for a job and I get it, yes. If I'm headhunted for a job, yes. So I never was, it's not until you're a place you're like, no, people are being demanded sexual favors for this. And I'm thinking, wow. Because I think I was shielded from all that because I've always been a go-getter in terms of like this is where I'm going and this is how I'm going to get there. And so I never had to deal with sleep with me so that you can get this position.
I want to pause you right there because for me that is a very amazing lesson for all the girls out there. There is of course the lesson embodied in it of confidence. The moment you believe in yourself and the fact that I'm there because of merit and not because someone favored me to be here, then you walk with your head held high. And the other part is parents making sure that they instill that level of confidence in their children because once you don't do that, then they miss it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people, you don't want your children thinking that they can't get to a particular place because there's something they must do else. You know, there's something else they must do to get there. So again, you're absolutely right on the confidence. You're absolutely right on the environment that somebody grows up in that forms a lot of the mindset. That one then approaches every single one of life situations with. Because it's that confidence that opens doors for you. It's that confidence that creates opportunity for you. I remember, and because I've never been one to shy away from responsibility, whatever responsibility you give me, I quickly dive into it and I achieve it.
Yes.
And that is what then allows me to be given more responsibilities, which then promotes me to the next level.
Okay.
I've never been one to shy from the most mundane of tasks because I know that me learning how to do that, one day it's going to open a door for me. One day I will have to supervise somebody to do that. How am I going to supervise them if I can't do it myself? I've always been the curious type as well, to stay learning, to stay hungry, you know. I've never been one to keep quiet. Many times people keep quiet. They say, anybody have anything to say? No. I will always have something to say because I have a mind, I have an opinion, and I feel that my voice must be heard and I can help somebody else along the way.
One of my mentors told me, when you are in a room as a woman, ensure that someone notices you one way or the other. Say something, and don't say something stupid because you want to be noticed. Make sure it is something that adds value to the conversation, and then you're noticed in the room full of people so that people realize you're there. And when we're talking about the girl child and the sacrifices they have to make to get to where they are, and right now we're taking the stairs to the story of your success from where you started to where you are now, and we're seeing the little tidbits that have made you successful in who you are right now. What are some other things that you would attribute to your success and the strength of a woman that you hold as we speak right now?
My mother has always been what I would call like a hustler. She's like the hustler. My dad is like the silent professional. My mom is like the hustler. So she's always been like, you know, something's got to work. If this is not going to work, I'm going to try this and it's going to work. I'm going to do this
so
and it's
that
going to
character
work.
is from your mother?
Absolutely. That go-getter, it's got to work, something's got to give, the persistence, the endurance, that comes from her.
Feminism is powerful in your
comes
home,
from
isn't
her.
it?
That really comes from her.
Yes.
She's got the, you know, that it's got to work. And I picked that from her, and I think I just amplified it in me because, you know, it's got to work. So that's a strength that I picked up from her. Then, of course, being exposed to different cultures at an early age, I would say, is also part of it, because then you realize that you can survive in any environment. And literally, I think I can survive in any environment. There are jobs I have taken, which when I've taken that job, it's almost a demotion. I even take a pay cut. I'm willing to take a lower salary. Why? Because I'm able to look ahead and see why I need this particular job, why I need this role on my CV, why I need this experience, because it's always going to count for something. It's going in terms of the relationships, in terms of the the credibility. One of the things that is really key for us as people, as young, and I would say this for the young women especially, is credibility.
Okay.
We need to build our credibility. And we can't build our credibility by taking shortcuts.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that sleeping your way to a job, that's a shortcut. Hard work and persistence, that's the correct way to do it, because that's the value that eventually is going to make a big difference in your life, because it builds your credibility. So that's one thing that I learned early on, is building credibility. Of course, like you said, I am an outlier. I'm not the normal person because, and I'll say it, not in a proud way, but because I had the great privilege of my grandfather's legacy and the family that I was born into.
And some people would actually argue, sorry to cut you short, that legacy helped you get to the places that you are right now. What would you have to say to that?
Absolutely not, because my grandfather, my extended family is very big.
Okay.
We are many. The last time we had a huge family gathering, there were like 400 of us, and those are like cousins.
Okay.
You're not even
That's
saying
a big number.
You're not even saying that 10th cousin. No, like cousins and first cousins and their children and their children's children, and there were like 400, and not everybody came. You understand? So there are many of us.
Okay.
So the question is then, has this legacy made a difference? No. I've worked for each and every part of where I am today.
Okay.
I joined university. From my first year, I started working. Do you understand? I was working nights,
And
I was
where
working
did you work?
nights. I was working then at a newspaper, because I was a mass comm student.
Okay.
So I was working then at a newspaper called The Weekly Topic. So by the time I was done with my 3 years at university, I already had 3 years working experience.
Okay.
Do you understand? So the point I'm trying to make is, I have worked. There's never a door I have gone into where maybe my dad walked me to a job, or my mom walked me to a job.
Yes.
No, it is who I am, based by God's grace, by what the relationships I've built for myself, but also the work that I have done as me.
Okay.
The legacy is a bonus right now, because there are family members who have not been able to, not all of us are successful, is what I should say. So the name is a bonus. The name is a responsibility. You understand?
Okay.
The name is a responsibility. It is a bonus. Right now, it opens doors, because why it opens doors is because of the stuff that either between myself or and other members of the family that they've achieved.
Okay.
But even they have had to work for where they are right now.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Now we'll go for a short break and then come back and discuss Susan's life away from vision, what she's doing right now, and what are her future aspirations. Stay with us.